Baffling Psychedelic Havoc, arrested on 2,000 micrograms LSD, MDMA, and DMT. Yo, what's going on? It's someone that's no one here, and welcome to today's report. This is going to be one hell of a report. I'm just saying this right now. Definitely one of the most wildest, craziest experiences that I ever heard, and there's a lot to it, so I'm sure you guys are gonna love this one. This is sent in by Caleb, and this happened on August 2nd, 2018. Gender, male. The drugs used were LSD, MDMA, and DMT. The dose was 2,000 micrograms of LSD. The amount of MDMA is unknown, and there were 2 hits of DMT. His prior experience, he's a psychonaut for sure, so he has a lot. And where this happened, first at a house, then outside, then to the hospital, and finally in jail. So also for this trip, since this is such a crazy experience and a crazy dose and whatnot, and it's questionable, did this shit even happen? I know there's some people that ask that, like, is this legit? And we actually do have photo evidence sent in by Caleb, and I'm probably gonna show that on screen now. This is the first time someone actually sent in a police report, and we can actually just see, this is a legit thing, and this shit actually happened. So, again, you guys are gonna love this one. Let's just dive right into it. So this actually happens to be my #1 top craziest trip report I've ever experienced in my life to this day. Because not only was the trip itself absolutely insane, but so were the circumstances surrounding it. A double whammy, as some might say. It's hard to grasp something as powerful as I witnessed that night. I think about it all the time, but some background on me. I've literally done every drug imaginable besides heroin. I'm known as the OG psychonaut of my region, like one of them kids off Earwood doing those crazy drug combinations. I'm a huge poly user, and psychedelics are by far my favorite. I'm used to doing really high doses. Recently I posted on Facebook a picture of me eating 23 hits of acid surrounded by hundreds of charges of nitrous. It got quite the reactions, but no trip I have or probably ever will have will come close to this. Take note that around this time, I was only 108 pounds as a 6-foot male, so that just adds to the intensity of the madness I endured. But in early June of 2018, I had recently moved out of my ex-best friend's house I was living with for about 5 months because he was physically abusing my cat, beating her, throwing her against walls, and he also broke her leg and ended up getting rid of her while I was gone. Absolutely evil, especially knowing that the only thing I like more than drugs is cats. I'm a huge cat person, but before he officially got rid of her, I tried to save the cat and move elsewhere. Mind you, I'm in a complete hick town where I barely know anybody, but eventually I found someone I remember hanging out with one time while I was there. I told her the situation, and she picked me and the cat up, and I left. I really figured this girl was a good person. Considering she's helping me help this abused cat I have, she must have a good heart, right? Wrong. So I moved in very temporarily and felt very comfortable playing video games with her and her boyfriend, talking about drugs, drama, all of that almost immediately. She seemed to have a friendly vibe until about day 6 of me staying there. On day 6, this girl I moved in with, we'll call her Caitlin, wanted to pregame for her huge birthday party she planned to have on day 7. She and her friends wanted to try all sorts of drugs that they never tried before and asked me all about them. How they feel, how safe they are, proper set and setting, etc. I told them I knew a girl not too far away who almost always has psychedelics. Sure enough, being the hippie festival goer she is, she had acid, Molly, and DMT. I told my friends, and they said, "We want it all." And at this time, Caitlin had a decent amount of cash, and so did I. So we were really about to buy a lot of drugs. Even though I was traumatized about my cat, this day I was feeling really great mentally. I felt I had near perfect set and setting. Couldn't be more wrong, again. So since it was my plug, they give me their money, and I walk out to my plug's car when she gets here. She hands me an eighth of Molly and a half gram of DMT. I notice the acid isn't in the bag, and I ask her, where's Lucy? She finger notions me to come to the car window. So I have this liquid. It's a very powerful needlepoint, but I got no paper or candy to drop it on, so bring your tongues here. I bought 20 hits for me personally, and my friends got 20 hits to split between 5 people. I had my friends come over to her car. First, she drags the full dropper of 10 hits on one side of my tongue, then a full dropper of 10 on the other. She looked terrified that I would do so much, but proceeded to yell in enjoyment that she's never seen someone do that much at once before. She then handed me the dropper and bottle through her window and had me dose my friends the proper amount in front of her. After that's done, she tells us all, but mainly glared at me, "Have a safe trip, guys," and drives off. Well, apparently, I did not take her advice. I kept the DMT in my pocket, since I was the one with the oil burner, and I wanted to hit it at the peak of this candy flip. I passed around the Molly when we got back in the house. We all eat our separate portions of MDMA, and very soon I was starting to feel the acid. I slightly panic, thinking acid never comes on this fast. It usually takes 50 minutes on a common dose or 30 on a high dose. But it's been 20 minutes and it hit me like a freight train. I felt like I was in a vibrating, aquatic, celestial clusterfuck of merging psychedelia. The rug is almost viciously twisting in fractalized patterns. I acknowledge it. Are you guys seeing what's going on with this rug? Whoa, this really hit fast. Are you guys feeling it yet? This is crazy. They agree, but all seem to have this look of anxiety on their face. They start nonstop narrating their trips and asking me questions since it is most of these people's first ever trip. An electric wave of euphoric bliss radiated throughout my body. It was extremely overwhelming, to the point where I passed out a couple times until the Molly kicked in. The auditory hallucinations are heavily prevalent, bouncing and echoing every noise I could perceive, and I could hear everything. I saw and felt my veins rooting into ground, and felt an incredible sense of connection to everything. My vision has a vibrant pink tint fluttering with vibrations and dancing colors. My brain feels like it's being dribbled down a basketball court. Every thought just ran into the next. All my senses are fucked. I hold on my hands, and layers of my hand bounce off into infinity on each finger, until it looked like I had hands for fingers, if that makes sense. I am nearly completely enveloped in this cosmic experience. Now people start mentioning they're hungry, which I was too. It was difficult to focus on anything, no matter the task. But I reassure everyone that my mom would most definitely order some pizza for all of us. Every time I tried to actually text her, it would take me nearly 5 minutes to type out a single word, and then I'd get fed up and focus my attention on something else. I never ended up ordering the pizza, but here's where shit gets interesting. I pass out one last time from the very overwhelming intensity of the acid and wake up with this jittery energy. It felt like a nuclear euphoria bomb detonated in my skull. I was crawling and rolling on the floor, drooling and blissfully indulging in all the orgasmic sensations rolling across my body head to toe. All I can think was love. Love more. Love your peers. Love your enemies. Spread love to everyone you know. My empathy is enhanced tenfold, but my ego is getting shredded like it was put to a cheese grater. That all being said, there was this girl here that was best friends with Caitlin. When she first walked in way earlier, I commented on how huge her boobs were, not out of creepiness, just stating a fact. This girl had a huge rack. She didn't seem to mind me saying that, and got along with me well until this happened. So when my consciousness decided to level itself out and thread my ego back into reality after being shown that message of love, I realized I was standing. Why am I up? Who are these people? What was I just doing prior to this? Oh, love! Love everyone! Spread love! I approach Caitlin's friend with open arms and attempt to hug her. She backs up with a very disgruntled look on her face. What the fuck are you doing? What do you mean? I'm trying to hug you. I feel like you need some positive energy. She backs up again. No! At this point, I'm just trying to figure out what this bitch's problem is and if I could help. Do you still want food? I can try texting my mom again to order pizza. She continues to take steps back. Get away from me! Being incredibly intoxicated, I advance toward her once more in an attempt to hug her and cheer her up. Rape! Everyone in the house pours into the kitchen where we were at. He raped me! I literally cannot fathom what is going on. Is this real? I am on a lot of drugs. Maybe that didn't really just happen. But oh, it did. Next thing I know, I'm getting rocked in the face. This girl proceeds to chase me into the nearest bedroom and continually punch me straight in the head. Hard. Which I cannot imagine being good at all, especially while on psychedelics. I escape her onslaught momentarily just to be greeted with more fists from the rest of the friends. I get dragged to the ground and kicked repeatedly. This is it. I'm actually being jumped while candy flipping, and I cannot begin to figure out why this is happening. I had non-stop 24/7 headaches for months straight after that, to where I had to see a doctor. I was told I had a concussion and I should have seen him sooner, but I eventually escape after minutes of beating and run out the back door with no shirt and no shoes. I run fast, grasping to breathe and frantically waving my hands in the air. Someone help! I just got jumped! Someone! Anyone! I couldn't believe this was happening. Talk about a bad trip. But I didn't want the rest of the trip to be bad. I didn't have my phone, but I still had all the DMT left and my oil burner. I decide on walking towards the park and hitting some DMT on the way while I'm peeking, as if I just didn't get beat the fuck up minutes ago. Wildest thing I could have ever done. It took 2 big inhales until I was blasted off into another dimension, but this was different this time. Usually on DMT, I will be absolutely floored, like incapacitated on the ground. I was so stimulated from the acid, molly, and rush from getting jumped, I was able to walk while broken through. Not so much walk as stagger and limp, but this was phenomenal. The first hit of DMT slapped the piss out of me, but the second one had me drop the pipe and shatter it. I felt like I was walking upwards in a circular motion, like I was on a hamster wheel or a roller coaster. It felt like I was in an orbital space being propelled at the speed of light. People talk about seeing hundreds or thousands of entities when blasted off on DMT, but I kid you not, I saw millions. On both sides of my closed-eyed vision, there are insane amounts of fully formed spiraling, interchanging, skyscraper-tall beings welcoming me into their cult. Every cell in my body explodes in complete psychedelic hyperorgasm in a synchronistic chain reaction. This is the most intense thing I've experienced to date. I had no idea who I was or where I was. I just convinced myself I was just levitating across the universe, experiencing everything that ever was or ever will be at once. The entities induct me into their cult and show me the ropes of their cult, communicating me in weird gestures and telepathy. I became an actual DMT entity. I felt intense power and I could manipulate my environment. I could change the textures, the people, the scenery. I was creating universes and experiencing all 8 billion humans on Earth live out their lives individually throughout this interconnected cosmic energy. At a certain point, I was vicariously living through Lil Pump's life. I have legitimate feelings of being this rich rapper. I dance into the road, imagining his music in my head as if it was clear as day at his concert. Suddenly, I am wrapped in blinding flashing lights. I had no idea what was going on until I hear, "Freeze! Put your hands behind your head!" and had assault rifles pointed directly at me. Wait, did someone I was yelling for to help me just call the cops on me? It took me a bit to register, then I was aware. I followed the cop's orders, giggling to myself. A cop screams, "What is your name?" And I geniusly reply, "It's Lil Pump in this bitch, ho!" Another cop yells, "Where did you take all these narcotics?" And I respond, "On my private jet." I wanted to say thank you, Little Pump, for not giving the police any information. But then again, if you did, I could have got the people who jumped me arrested on drug and battery charges. So I definitely should have told them everything, but I didn't. But then when they found out how many drugs I was on, They put me in an ambulance almost immediately, then put a warrant out for my arrest. The ambulance had a very UFO-like vibe to it, so I went from getting a vibe of like I was spoiling all these people around me with my rap riches to an alien experiment vibe. Because when one of the medical professionals stuck a rectal thermometer in me, I was convinced I was being probed and used for an ultra-intelligent experiment that determined the existence of every living thing. The cop that came with me and medical staff laughed and smiled the whole way there because of all the outrageous things I've been saying to them. To my surprise, one of the nurses told me when I woke up the next day that I had been one of the best patients she's ever had. But when I arrived at the hospital, it was anything but pleasant. They shoved a catheter in my dick, which on LSD and coming off DMT, you feel everything. Every nerve ending across your body times 1,000, and I genuinely rate it as the worst pain in my life, as it felt like my dick was split open like a banana peel on a banana or a flower opening up. Apparently, I didn't even change my facial expression or yell or anything. I just grunted when they shoved it in. But that's about it. I was put in jail after that. Caitlin gave back my cat to the abuser, who purposely let her out one day, and then she was gone. I got jumped for no reason, which baffled me the most. I literally was trying to be so nice to this girl, and she repays me by jumping me and false claiming rape. It doesn't get much worse than that. For one, I didn't find her attractive at all, and for two, I'm more interested in guys anyway. So it's like, don't flatter yourself. Just because I said you had huge boobs does not equate to me wanting to fuck you. She was going around saying I raped her, but then later said that I didn't actually, but I tried to, which neither is true whatsoever. This was the most intense trip, high and night of my life, period. I did my best to explain it in detail, but it is difficult with the extreme ego death and blackouts at that crazy of a dose, mixed with other powerful substances. This was incredibly traumatic for me, but at the same time, I've never been so astonished in my life by what we can see behind closed eyes. I know some parts of the trip seem cool, but do not mimic this in any way, as I wouldn't want anyone else in a similar situation because it will end badly. As most my legendary trip of all time, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks for reading.